During the 7th and 6th millennia before our era, Neolithic societies expanded across the Near East and into parts of Europe and Africa. Agriculture and animal husbandry became more refined, and pottery use spread widely. Small villages developed, some with signs of social organization and long-distance trade. Meanwhile, the gradual extinction of remaining megafauna continued, likely due to a mix of human pressure and climate change. These millennia saw the slow but steady shift from mobile lifestyles to more permanent structured settlements. The long-legged llama was a genus of large, llama-like camelids. These animals stood taller and were generally more robust than modern llamas, with long limbs and necks adapted for browsing in open woodlands and grasslands. They were herbivores, feeding on a variety of vegetation depending on the habitat, and likely played a role similar to that of antelope in their ecosystems. Fossil evidence suggests that Hemialkinia species thrived in both temperate and arid environments. Their extinction, around 8,000 years ago, is attributed to rapid climate changes, combined with increasing human presence and hunting pressure. Like many other large mammals of the Americas, they vanished during the broader Holocene megafaunal extinction. Darwin's Mylodon was a large, ground-dwelling sloth, measuring around 3 to 4 meters long and weighing approximately 1.6 tons. It had a robust body and flat hypsodont teeth, adapted for grinding tough vegetation, particularly grasses, making it primarily a grazer. Unique features like a roughened nasal arch and movable upper lip suggest adaptations for selective feeding, possibly aided by a horn-like structure in the upper jaw. Its chewing apparatus generated strong bite forces, though limited chewing surface area suggests that digestion relied heavily on slow fermentation in a multi-chambered stomach. Coprolite analysis from Patagonian caves confirmed a diet dominated by grasses and sedges, consistent with the tundra-like habitat it occupied. Although some traits hint at limited digging behavior, Mylodon was mostly terrestrial, walking on the outer edges of its hands to protect its claws. Predation evidence includes bones found in caves used by large Pleistocene predators like Smilodon and Arctotherium. Mylodon went extinct around 8,000 years ago, likely due to a combination of climate change and human hunting, as supported by archaeological findings linking its remains to human artifacts in South American sites. The larger South American horse was a morphologically variable species of extinct equine native to South America during the Pleistocene and closely related to true horses. It stood about 1.5 meters tall and weighed around 400 kilograms, primarily grazing on grasses in prairies and open woodlands. Originally classified into multiple species under Amorhippus, later research confirmed it as a single species. It went extinct around 8,000 years ago, alongside many other large South American mammals at the end of the Pleistocene. Several archaeological sites show evidence of human interaction, including burned bones and possible butchery marks. These findings suggest human hunting and environmental changes both likely contributed to its extinction. Glyptodon was a massive, armored mammal closely related to modern armadillos, but far larger, weighing over 1,000 kilograms and measuring about 3 meters in length. It had a distinctive dome-shaped carapace made of hundreds of fused osteoderms, providing formidable protection against predators. Unlike its smaller relatives, Glyptodon had a relatively inflexible body, and its tail was short and often encased in a bony sheath, possibly used in defense or intraspecific combat. Its skull was broad with powerful jaw muscles adapted for grinding coarse vegetation, and its peg-like teeth indicate a primarily herbivorous diet focused on tough grasses. It disappeared around 8,000 years ago, coinciding with rapid climatic shifts at the end of the Ice Age and the arrival of humans on the continent. Archaeological sites show that early humans likely hunted Glyptodon, as evidenced by marks on bones and the use of its shell for shelter or tools. Its slow mobility, low reproductive rate, and dependence on stable grassland habitats would have made it especially vulnerable to environmental disruption and human predation. Unlike the more agile and mixed-diet Mylodon, Glyptodon's ecological niche may have offered little flexibility under sudden pressure. Hoplophorus was large. It measured up to 3 meters in length, weighing 1 ton, mainly due to the large bony armor that covered the body. As in all glyptodons, this armor was made up of hundreds of osteoderms welded together and was very little mobile. It must have been very similar to other glyptodons such as Neosclerocalyptus, but unlike this one, it had a more globular carapace formed by plates made wrinkled due to the presence of numerous perforations. Furthermore, the size of Hoplophorus was greater. The tail was protected by a series of bony rings and by a terminal caudal tube made up of numerous osteoderms fused together. The stout-legged llama was a now extinct relative of modern llamas that was heavier and more robust than today's llamas, with a long skull, stocky limbs, and specialized teeth adapted for browsing forest vegetation. Fossil and isotopic evidence indicates a diet based primarily on plants such as leaves and fruits, suggesting it thrived in wooded, mountainous habitats. Its limb structure also implies adaptation to uneven terrain, likely aiding in predator avoidance in forested environments. Socially, it may have lived in structured groups, similar to modern llamas, with dominant males defending territories. Its extinction likely resulted from a combination of climate change, habitat loss, and human hunting pressure during the late Pleistocene and early Holocene. Its disappearance aligns with broader ecological shifts observed after the extinction of many other megafaunal species across the Americas. The eastern giant armadillo was an extinct species of armadillo that had a heavily armored body with a distinctive grooved carapace made of bony plates, adapted for protection and digging. Fossil evidence suggests it inhabited open and possibly arid environments where it likely fed on insects and plant matter. Like many other South American megafauna, it likely went extinct around the end of the Pleistocene due to a combination of climate change and human activities. Pampean giant armadillo was a unique and larger relative of modern armadillos, differing notably from Propriopus by its more rigid, fused carapace and bulkier skeleton. Unlike the more mobile armor of Propriopus, Utatus had limited flexibility, suggesting a lifestyle less reliant on speed and more on defense or burrowing. Its dentition and jaw structure point to a diet of coarse vegetation suited to open or semi-arid habitats. The species also disappeared due to a combination of climate shifts and growing human presence across South America. Yukon horse was a small cabeloid horse species closely related to Przewalski's horses, as confirmed by mitochondrial DNA and skeletal comparisons. Its metapodials and phalanges closely resemble those of extinct Siberian subspecies, highlighting strong evolutionary links. Fossil evidence, including a remarkably preserved carcass dated to over 26,000 years ago, suggests it was common in the grasslands of eastern Beringia alongside other Ice Age megafauna. It lived in structured social groups with family herds led by a dominant stallion and separate bachelor herds. It thrived in savanna-like and sparsely wooded habitats, feeding on a variety of grasses and flowering plants. Despite its adaptability, harsh winters and predation by wolves may have contributed to its extinction. The giant hartebeest was a genus of large alcelophine bovids, likely the largest ever recorded in its group, with horn spans reaching up to 1.2 meters. Its skull was highly elongated, with horn pedicels fused and positioned far back, similar to modern hartebeest, while its robust postcranial skeleton resembled that of modern wildebeest. This combination suggests it had a strong, muscular neck held horizontally, adapted for grazing in open grasslands. Most species of Megalotragus had an inflated nasal region forming a dome, possibly used for vocalization or display. The three recognized species varied in horn shape and size, with Megalotragus priscus having the longest and most dramatic horns. Fossil evidence indicates they thrived in Africa's Pleistocene savannas, but likely disappeared due to changing climates, shrinking habitats, and increasing human pressures. The dire wolf was a large and powerful prehistoric canid that lived in America. It was larger and more robust than modern gray wolves, with stronger jaws adapted to crushing bones, indicating a diet that included large prey like bison and horses. Unlike gray wolves, dire wolves had distinct evolutionary origins and are now classified outside the Canis genus, reflecting their unique lineage. They lived in packs and were apex predators in their ecosystems, but went extinct around 8,000 years ago, likely due to a combination of climate change, habitat loss, and the disappearance of their large prey following the Pleistocene megafaunal extinctions. Human activity and competition with other predators may also have contributed to their decline. Recently, the biotech company Colossal attempted to de-extinct the dire wolf by editing the genes of gray wolves. However, this effort was largely symbolic, as the genetic differences between dire wolves and gray wolves are too great for such simple modifications to recreate a true dire wolf. Moreover, since Enochion dirus is no longer considered part of the Canis genus, the animals produced by Colossal cannot genuinely represent this extinct species. Camboia's trioc was a species of trioc, a small marsupial native to New Guinea, known for its slender body and elongated fingers used for foraging insects and small prey. Like modern triocs, it likely had a nocturnal lifestyle and relied on its sharp claws and teeth to extract insects from tree bark. Fossil evidence suggests it lived in dense forest habitats, where it played a role in controlling insect populations. Limited fossil records make it difficult to fully understand its biology and the causes of its extinction, but it likely shared many traits with its living relatives. New Guinea greater glider was a species of gliding possum that lived in New Guinea alongside Camboia's trioc. It had a large, furry body with a distinctive gliding membrane stretching between its limbs, allowing it to glide between trees in dense forest habitats. Like modern gliders, it was likely nocturnal and fed on nectar, fruit, and possibly small insects. Its presence alongside other marsupials highlights the rich diversity of New Guinea's ancient forests. Due to limited fossil evidence, much of its ecology is inferred from related species. The Beringian wolf was a large, robust canid that lived in the Beringia region, characterized by its powerful build and strong jaws adapted for hunting large Ice Age prey. Genetically distinct but closely related to the modern gray wolf, it showed unique adaptations to cold environments and specialized diets. Its primary prey included large herbivores like bison and horses, which were abundant in the steppe tundra ecosystems it inhabited. The Beringian wolf's extinction is closely linked to the loss of these key prey species at the end of the Pleistocene, caused by climate change and human impacts. Despite its disappearance, its genetic legacy persists in some modern wolf populations. The decline of megafauna thus played a critical role in ending the era of this specialized predator. Originally described as a species of gazelle, the Bond's springbok was found to be related to the modern springbok based on cranial morphology. Due to its exceptionally hypsodont teeth, together with isotopic evidence, it is considered a specialized grazer. It survived past the Pleistocene in South Africa, surviving until as recently as 8,000 years ago. It was an essential part of a Pleistocene grazing community that likely occupied open grasslands in the interior. This niche contrasts markedly with the flexible browsing habits of the extant springbok, which can tolerate arid habitats. Salidotherium was a large, ground-dwelling sloth native to South America, notable for its elongated skull and robust, heavily built body. It had strong, curved claws adapted for digging and feeding on tough vegetation, indicating a specialized herbivorous diet. It likely lived in open woodlands and grasslands, where it used its claws to forage for roots and tubers. Its slow metabolism and heavy build made it vulnerable to environmental changes and predators. The species went extinct at the end of the Pleistocene, likely due to a combination of climate change and human hunting pressures. These factors together led to the decline of many large mammals in South America during this period. The Sardinian giant deer was native to the Sardinia-Corsica archipelago from the late Middle Pleistocene to the early Holocene. Its ancestors likely arrived on the islands during the Middle Pleistocene, with the earliest well-dated fossils of the genus found in Sardinia dating back over 450,000 years. The oldest remains specifically assigned to Premagaceros catsioti are around 300,000 years old. Compared to its mainland ancestor, this deer was much smaller, only slightly bigger than a fallow deer, showcasing a dramatic size reduction of over 75%, a classic case of island dwarfism. Interestingly, while its body size shrank, its skull shape remained largely unchanged. Two subspecies are known, with the earlier form having smaller, low-crowned teeth, while the later subspecies developed larger, high-crowned teeth adapted for grazing. The species survived until about 8,000 years ago, making it the last known member of the Premagaceros genus. Macapania was a large extinct herbivore from the Pliocene and early Holocene of southern and East Africa, notable for its laterally positioned horns and an estimated body weight of around 260 kilograms. It likely had a mixed diet of browsing and grazing, favoring grasses and needing access to permanent water. A related or possibly new species survived until the 6th millennium before our era, with its extinction likely linked to habitat changes following the last glacial maximum. The Ibiza rail was a small, partially flight-capable rail species from the island of Ibiza, closely related to the modern water rail, but with shorter wings and more robust limbs. It likely lived in coastal brackish swamps and may have also inhabited neighboring Formentera. Its extinction occurred 8,000 years ago, possibly linked to early human arrival and hunting pressure. Although it retained some ability to fly, its small population and limited habitat likely made it vulnerable to even moderate levels of human exploitation. The Ibiza dwarf viper was a now extinct venomous viper subspecies once native to the island of Ibiza. It was a dwarf form of Latastes viper shaped by insular evolution. Genetic and fossil evidence suggests it colonized Ibiza via overwater dispersal from northeastern Iberia about 1.5 million years ago. The oldest remains date back to the Middle Pleistocene, while the most complete genome was obtained from a specimen around 18,000 years ago. This viper likely went extinct around 8,000 years ago, soon after the arrival of humans to the island. Ancient bison was a large extinct bison species that lived in North America during the late Pleistocene. Much larger than the modern American bison, it could reach up to 2.3 meters in height, 4.6 meters in length, and weigh over 1,500 kilograms with impressively wide horns, sometimes exceeding a meter in span. Its skull was more elongated and less domed than that of its modern relative, and its limbs were proportionally different, aiding in a powerful build. Unlike modern bison, it was a mixed feeder, consuming both grasses and shrubs, with its diet varying by region. It was preyed upon by Ice Age predators such as dire wolves, saber-toothed cats, and the American lion. It evolved from bison latifrons, itself derived from the Eurasian steppe bison that crossed into North America around 150,000 years ago. The species became increasingly common between 18 and 10,000 years ago, thriving across central parts of North America. At sites like Hudson Meng in Nebraska, large numbers of bones have been found alongside stone tools, suggesting mass hunts or natural die-offs later exploited by humans. The species went extinct around 8,000 years ago during the early Holocene, possibly due to a combination of climate change and human hunting. The modern American bison is thought to have evolved from Bison antiquus, with transitional forms often referred to as Bison occidentalis. Megatherium was one of the largest ground sloths, reaching lengths of 6 meters and weights comparable to an Asian elephant. Its skull was small relative to body size, with ever-growing teeth lacking enamel, adapted for shearing plant material. Despite earlier suggestions, it likely did not have a long, protrusible tongue, relying instead on a strong prehensile upper lip. Megatherium's limbs show adaptations for powerful vertical biting and defense, including strong forelimbs with large claws. Unlike modern sloths, it had fused tibia and fibula and a modified foot structure, bearing weight on outer digits and the calcaneum. It lived in temperate, arid to semi-arid open environments across southern South America, mainly feeding on shrubs and trees. Isotopic evidence confirms its herbivorous diet, though some individuals occasionally consumed grass. Megatherium likely walked quadrupedally, but could stand bipedally to feed on high vegetation. It had a slow metabolism and possibly a thick fur coat to survive cooler climates, though this is debated. Fossil trackways and inner ear anatomy suggest it was more mobile than modern sloths, but slower than elephants. Megatherium coexisted with various megafauna and went extinct around the end of the Pleistocene, likely due to climate change and human hunting. Archaeological evidence, including cut-marked bones and a confirmed kill site, supports human interaction and exploitation of the species. Neosclerocalyptus was a medium-sized glyptodont characterized by a rigid, elongated carapace with varying osteoderm patterns depending on location and a tail protected by bony rings and a terminal tube. Its skull featured adaptations for better breathing in dry climates, and its dentition indicates bulk feeding on grasses in open habitats. Anatomical evidence suggests it was more cursorial than other glyptodonts, implying a more active lifestyle. Like many ancient island ecosystems, Cuba lacked large land predators, which allowed some birds to adopt more terrestrial, ground-dwelling lifestyles. The giant Cuban owl, a massive owl closely related to the genus Strix, evolved into a long-legged, short-winged apex predator, much like Hawaii's extinct stilt owls in a striking case of convergent evolution. Standing up to 1.1 meters tall, it may have been the largest owl to ever exist, with a robust build suited for hunting giant rodents and dwarf ground sloths, and possibly capable of short, turkey-like flights despite its reduced wings. At least 3 other ornimegalonic species coexisted in ancient Cuba, each likely adapted to hunt different prey sizes, but all probably went extinct shortly after human arrival around 8,000 years ago due to habitat disruption and the loss of their prey.